Disorderliness creates delay in closing. If you want to close faster, you need to bring some order into your selling. You need to bring some order into your sales process. So in today's video, we're going to look at how do you shorten your sales cycle and bring order into your sales process so you can close sales faster and in record time. My name is Iyore. I've trained thousands of salespeople across several countries: Nigeria, Ghana, USA, UAE, Rwanda. I'm an author of several books and resources on sales, and I've been featured on lots of media platforms to talk about successful selling. I worked on an organization I was going to target to sell to 20 high net worth individuals. I was able to bring in 21 high net worth individuals to the organization in a single month. I also participated in a sales competition where I won, and I was sent for the World Cup for another expense paid trip. I moved to another organization. I was able to double my portfolio by over 100% in just 11 months. I'm CEO for Advantage, and our specialty is in Salesforce management. This means work with sales teams, partnering with CEOs and team leads to help them optimize sales results and get sales results faster and in record time. Now, shortening sales cycles. A lot of times people ask questions, how can we shorten the sales cycle? It's taking us too long to close. There are key areas that cause a delay and make sales cycles very long. One of the key areas, in fact, when you look at the sales process, the beginning, the middle, and the end are the three most significant points in the sales process. Why do I say the beginning? Because you start with lead generation. You start to qualifying. Those are the early engagements. Why do I say at the middle? Because value communication happens at the middle. Why do I say at the end? Because follow-up is very key to being able to shorten the sales cycle, strategic follow-up. Now, if you don't, let's start with the back, follow-up. If you don't qualify correctly to identify who the key people are, you'll be following up the wrong person. If you don't confirm what is the best method to engage this particular prospect, the person may get offended. For example, there are executives who say things like, I'm a chat person. If you send me chats, I respond faster. I don't like calls because calls stress me. I'm already so stressed handling all the calls from my board and from my bosses and so on. So just send me a chat, I'll respond quicker. Now imagine someone like this, you're busy trying to call the person because you're trying to follow up. You get the result wrong. Person could even get offended. I remember I was in the office several years ago, prospecting a company. The HR who was in charge, who was the decision maker, he said, I don't want to ever work with this other company. Mention the company's name. He said because they kept on following him up. The way they were following him up, it was so annoying. And because of that, they said it was not going to give them business. So you see, the way we follow up to matters. That's why you want to find out what is the best way you want to be engaged. You need to ask your prospects. And you need to make sure you're following up the right person. Can we get to the middle now? Value communication. How do you communicate value? Have you identified the needs? Are you even communicating value to the right person? Have you identified what exactly the key points are? See, if you don't ask the right questions, the sales process will be long. If you go for a meeting and you forget to ask important questions or key facts about this engagement process, what will happen is you will find out that for some reason, even when you're trying to make proposals or make presentations or communicate value, you'll be stuck. You'll be stuck. You won't just be able to move forward because you'll be wondering, I need this information, I didn't ask. That's why you need to have your question bank. All the questions you know you need to ask, write them down. So that for no reason would you miss any. See, it's better you have too many questions, and while you're in a meeting, you pick the ones you feel you want to ask, than to have fewer questions and you're trying to bring out or develop questions from your head. So if you ask questions correctly, you can be sure that you will be able to communicate value correctly. See, if you don't create round holes, you can't put in round pegs. If you don't create square holes, you can't put in square pegs. So when you ask questions, you're creating holes so that you can fill it with your products. You're creating needs. See, questions are like diggers. They create needs so that you can then fill it with the desires or with the solutions that you prefer from your product or service. Now, the most significant point is the beginning. Because you see, if you notice, follow-up, value communication, these two things are predetermined on an effective beginning. That's why how you start your sales conversation matters when you prospect. You need to make sure that the people you're meeting with, they are all present in the meeting. If the decision-making process is 5 people, make sure that at least 3 are present. Hopefully, these 3 will be the superior decision makers. Because if you have 3 present and these 3 are not the decision makers, maybe it's the chairman and the CEO who are not there, and these are the main people, you know that you're not going to make progress on this. And that's why your questions are key. Now, when you qualify, you're trying to make sure that the person you're dealing with is qualified to do business with you. Not to be sure that you're qualified to do business with them. Now, even if you're asking questions before you're qualified to do business with them, your mentality must be to make sure that to see if they are qualified to do business with you. And what are the kind of questions you can ask to qualify? Mr. Prospect, last time you picked a vendor for a product like this. Can you walk me through how you went about making a decision? When he explains that, you will know who the key people are. Mr. Prospect, is there anybody else who needs to be in this meeting so that we can be able to conclude on our decision? Or do we can we have this meeting now? Then we'll have another phase of the meeting where we would have everybody else complete. What are you trying to do? You're trying to find out if everybody is present in this meeting so that you can know how to go about your engagement. You see, when you do B2B selling, when you sell, focusing using sales cycles, especially B2B selling, like I said, you need to take the process slowly. This is why in B2B, aggressive prospecting helps shorten your sales cycle. You can't be in a hurry to run through the sales cycle. If you run through it in a hurry, you will have a poor result. It's like trying to cook certain foods in a hurry. Here in this part of Lagos, in this part of the world, Nigeria, if you cook beans in a hurry, you know what happens? Either the beans doesn't get done or somehow it gets burnt. You want to take your time and let it cook slowly. That's why you need to make sure that you know if everybody else or who should be present in this meeting. Another question could be, Mr. Prospect, the last time you chose a vendor like this, or the last time you bought a product similar to this, how did you go about it? Was anybody you had to recourse to? For some of our clients, they like to recourse to give examples, maybe their engineer, the architect, whatever, give examples. But for you, can you walk me through who you normally would recourse to, making sure that you're on the right path or making the right decision? All I'm asking, you see, I'm asking the same question, repeated several times, in different ways, because I need to be sure. You know, there are times when you ask questions about decision-making process and the prospect says, I'm the final decision maker. When you get to a certain point in conversation, he will say, I need to talk to my chairman. So if you ask these questions 3 times, in 3 different ways, you find out that you'll be able to see the truth. Because by the time the first question is similar, the answer is similar to the second and the third, you are sure that you're talking to the right person. And with this, you have a shortened sales cycle and be able to close sales in record time. If you haven't watched the next video, if you haven't subscribe here. Thanks so much for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I'll talk to you soon.